Well, that's it for the ship's features. Now let's move on to its rather rocky development history.
In 2367, a very promising young engineer named Commander Volker loses his husband during the Battle of Wolf 359, and as a result began to work tirelessly on a new proposed design for a Starfleet battleship. He christened the project the Inquisitor class, since those historic figures titled instilled fear in most people and helped in keeping a peace preemptively, as was the proposed intention of this ship design.
The following year, in 2368, Starfleet flatly denies any resources for the project's continuation, stating, "This is a betrayal of everything the Federation stands for. It's one thing to be prepared for a threat, but this battleship project would turn Starfleet into the very thing we want to stop."
This rejection, however, did not go unnoticed by one branch of Starfleet in particular, the secretive Section 31, all those do-gooders, those guys, who picked up the gauntlet and began their own development project using the plans provided. However, before they could get enough resources together to really get the project underway, the start of the Dominion War occurred, and now all of Starfleet's assets were firmly entrenched in pure survival. So the project was shelved and put on ice in late 2369.
That all soon changed, however, as after the Battle of Sector 001, Section 31 reached out to a few key members of the Admiralty to try and convince them of the importance of the Inquisitor project. While this was somewhat successful in most cases, all of the Admiralty that were willing to help did agree that because of the war, the resources just were not available at the time. Then, in 2375, the Breen attack on Earth, and the now promoted Captain Volker loses the majority of his family in the attack.
Shortly after the end of the Dominion War, he is enrolled into Section 31 and takes command of the Inquisitor project personally. However, due to several technological challenges in the development, no construction start dates are in sight. Then, miraculously, 3 years later, Voyager makes her triumphant return home in 2378, bringing with her many new technological advancements, which are just what the project required to get everything back on track.
The following year, construction begins on the USS Inquisitor, NX 100009. While construction commences, Captain Volker sees the potential in his concept and realizes that this is only the beginning. He has upgrades in mind for the next step of the class, and one of those ideas is much bigger. While construction of the Inquisitor commences, Volker communicates his new ideas to Admiral Schrodinger, the commanding officer responsible for the secret project.
After 21 months of construction, the Inquisitor is secretly launched under the command of its creator, Captain Volker. Something goes wrong, however, during the first test run, and the prototype is lost. But the reports have been restricted to a higher security level than allowed by the present report. Convinced that Volker's vision was right, Admiral Schrodinger, in association with his Section 31 contacts, started the development of the USS Torkamata, second ship of the Inquisitor class, including the many new upgrades envisioned by Volker, and also new ideas from the development team.
The Torkamata will be more imposing than her predecessor, but also more versatile. Where the Inquisitor was strictly a battleship carrier hybrid, its successor was a massive command and assault carrier. One of Volker's upgrade ideas has been to add 2 ventral hangar spaces able to house 1 Defiant-class escort ship in each. This would almost make the Torkamata a warp-capable starbase of sorts. Its new size also makes it an ideal evacuation ship for planetary catastrophes.
In some ways, it's not dissimilar to what the Galaxy class had been envisioned to be when it was designed. It's an obvious flagship with an impressive carrying capacity and able to stand up to anything Starfleet can imagine at the time, with a lot more firepower and no families.
Skip to 2385, the development, gathering of resources, and construction take 5 years. Early test runs are a success. Compared to her predecessor, exploration and investigation can easily be added to her primary role as a warship. The Federation Council then learns of the existence of that ship and are considering her deployment, but haven't approved it.
While waiting for the next armed conflict to set the mind of the Federation Council, Admiral Schrodinger and Section 31 keep improving the Torkamata for her to be perfect and ready to save the day at the next menace.
And that's it for the actual in-universe information. Now the behind the scenes, and the question was just why, and how, and when. Go! Talk about how and why and when you designed this ship. It wasn't just for Trekyards, was it?
No, it started a long time ago. This is a design that I've been working on since I think 1998 or 9, something like that. Right after Star Trek Insurrection, me and one of my friend Daniel were making a fan fiction because we thought that Federation is really turning into what they're fighting, like progressively. So what if we bring that idea like further? And that's what we did. Hence the name, which is really not Federation-like, in a way, which I've been criticized a lot in the on the chat for. And since then, the ideas remain in my mind, even after our fan fiction. Like my friend Daniel took the fan fiction and made something with it, and the ship design remained in my mind. 10 years ago, I decided to redesign the ship, update it, so I made it bigger. So there are a few drawings that can show that. I invented a new story and didn't remember all the details of my friend's story. So that's why I implied like the first prototype was lost. Listening to you guys for the last 2.5 years, I think, I added a lot. And I remember especially the episode on the Excalibur class, that giant ship. You said, "Oh, it would be awesome if a Defiant would move out of the hangar bay," and I said, "Oh my God, I found a new use for the weapon pods on the side." So that's where.
I was just going to ask about the Defiant class when that became a thing, because it's an interesting idea for sure.
I'm sure the catchphrase for this in the fleet would be the Defiant launcher.
Yeah.
So it's quite ballsy, but it certainly makes sense. I mean, especially if you can not allow ships outside the vessel to know what's inside, while very capable, adding 2 more Defiants into the mix, unbeknownst to the thing you're fighting, that changes the paradigm quite drastically.
Yeah, and with its sides, it can't be as maneuverable as a Sovereign even. So it needs some cover fire.
Yeah, it kind of takes the Prometheus idea of the multi-vector assault mode, but like changes it a little bit. It's 2 very agile Defiant class ships, and then the larger firepower. Like, yeah, I like that dynamic. It's an interesting idea.
And he goes one step beyond the idea of fighters, because fighters is a flawed idea in Trek to begin with. I mean, you saw in Dominion War, they get shot at, each Paragon gets blown up. But if you throw enough at them plus Defiance, I mean, at least that's a useful secondary craft that can do some damage, a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And hence the Monotanium adding to the fighters, so they are less easy to target. But the Monotanium idea came from you guys, from our discussions. So yeah, I thought at the time about making it make ship separation, but my design was really thought for one bulk. I wanted something. I really wanted to evolve the shape of the Sovereign and in a way made it more raw. And I wanted really something compact, but that was still an evolution of the style. And the look of the front of the saucer is really like. From the start, I wanted it to be able to ram, so I wanted some kind of blade feeling.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up right at the start, when against the Federation ideals, why would you then want to design something that went against Federation ideals to a T, even ramming? It's like, it's so aggressive, it rams.
The idea was really Federation gone wrong. That was the idea behind the ship. And when I rewritten the development story, I wanted to... That guy, Volker, was really like... He was broken. He was mentally unstable, and he put all his pain and his burden into that design and wanted to. So
it's also a revenge ship.
Yeah.
That's why it was refused, and then Section 31 had to get involved, and it's perfect. The mirroring of that kind of mindset with Section 31. It's beautiful.
Actually, that's my take on the USS Vengeance, which I was really like when I saw it in the movie. I said, "Oh, that's my idea," and I don't like the ship that much. So yeah.
Well, it's definitely a cool design. You actually put a lot of thought into the development history.
People that come to us for originals obviously have enough passion to want to do that anyway. But you can tell these things are labours of love, and a lot of the ships in Trek, most of the ships in Trek, were designed over the course of a week or less, and then put to screen without any thought. And it's kind of unusual in the grand scheme to have ships this much thought put in, and then to be able to present them to you guys to enjoy. It's just such a lovely experience. And then, from your perspective, obviously, do you want to talk about then taking, approaching us and going from 2D to 3D?
It's been a little longer than expected, but that's quite okay because it's totally worth it. But that was, I had a lot of fun collaborating with Barry. And if I had the budget, I would have put more budget and make it even more detailed. Maybe a later episode and mission briefing on a future version that I'm...
Mark 3!
Yeah.
Launches 4 Defiance!
So the Mark II wouldn't be bigger. I think I've read, well, it's as large as Deep Space Nine, so I won't go bigger than that.
Yeah.
I was really curious though to know your guys' opinion on my design, specifically if there are aspects of its visual that what you think of it.
Being thrown under. I mean, obviously, obviously we like it. We wouldn't take them on if we didn't. You're obviously not designing an elegant ship. When a ship is so functional, you can't really, it is really the lines of a ship that are aesthetic, which don't really make sense because it should be functional. Or functional, I mean, like I said, leading edge isn't pretty, but boy, you understand everything. I think for this, the fact there's so much stuff going on tells you that it's kind of like a hollowed out space with stuff. I like the fact that the sources derive from the ramming. That's it gives it a purpose to it, which I appreciate. And I definitely think the engines are a fun design. I like them. I'm zooming around it now in 3D, and they're good. I like them.
Yeah, I think it's a super impressive design. The heavily armored warp nacelles look cool. Just the overall shape from the top is very, it's. I love it. The side is a little bit bulky, but because of the Defiant launch bays and the onboard factories and stuff, I think it looks fine. Just the side the profile is not my favorite, to be honest. It's a little too bulky, but other than that, it's great. The 4 nacelle design is awesome, and it really looks like a force to be reckoned with for sure. It's a fantastic design. It's a very beautiful ship.
It's honest that it's one of the things where I say so often that I just want to see it in more high detail model. I can see every little thing, because as soon as you start quantifying the little pieces, it'll feel more complete, and you'll get a sense of it. And don't forget, guys, yes, it has 2 phaser lances. Because it has to have phaser lances, and they're so subtle as opposed to the other, which I appreciate because it's very full on in the Enterprise D Galaxy X. But there's like, oh yeah, just here, Yep,
yeah.
There was a lot of things I added when I asked Leah Rundle for the MSD, the Master System Display. I did for it, and since I had to invent the interior in more detail, I added a lot of stuff, so that helped a lot to make it more.
So yeah, Trekyards Originals is something we take a lot of pride in here at Trekyards. We, fan designs are fantastic. There's a lot of outside the box thinking in a lot of cases, and we love expanding on that. So, how was the process of working with us and deciding to come to us for that? You had obviously watched other Trekyards Originals, I assume.
And what would you say to prospective people?
When I saw the first Star Trek original, I was already thinking, if they could do a mission briefing on my ship, that would be so awesome. And then I saw a Star Trek Trekyard original, and I said, oh my God, I can. And it was right away, I need to commission that. So I just gathered the budget and started working with you guys. And the process has been slow but steady, and you guys are really easy to work with, and it's always okay, I'm watching those guys, this could be intimidating, but at the first discussion that all goes away. And
that's awesome. We don't want to be intimidating. So guys, if you guys are interested in your own Trekyards Originals, by all means, drop us a line at trekyards@hotmail.com, or message either one of us on social media if we're on your friends list. We'd love to talk to you about that kind of thing. But trekyards@hotmail.com is the official way to do it. And we will let you know what packages are available, and you can get a a couple episodes like this one, and hopefully you enjoyed this one as well. I'd like to thank Tommy for coming on and letting us present this ship to you guys. It's a fantastic design, so thank you very much, Tommy.
Thank you, guys.
And of course, support us on Patreon if you can. One-time donation at Trekyards.com. Join our Super Chat lives every week. Get an Eagle Moss. Get a shirt. It's all down below. Have a little peruse the links. You'll find something nice. Or get originals. Or 2. Or 3. Or a friend original. Or your mum an original. Or your dad. We've had birthday presents before to people, which has been pretty cool.
That's right. And don't forget to comment down below what you think of Tommy's design. And don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And don't forget to come back and watch us again. Click the notification icon so you get notified when we do regular episodes as well as these Trekyards originals. And look forward to seeing you all in the future. So until then, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Cummings and guest
Tommy Perron.
Next time, guys.